Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Wilderness of Creativity. Today I'm talking to Marielle and Heidi. Heidi is a poet and a former media producer who's been caring for her mum with Alzheimer's for 8 years. Marielle, a great friend of hers, has a background in NHS and social care and has been caring for her mum for a decade. Together they created Dementia Talk with M and H to connect and support others on this challenging path. I do invite you to stay with us until the very end of this episode when Heidi and Marielle share a heartfelt selection of poetry dedicated to their mums. This episode is a beautiful, raw and honest conversation that touches upon sensitive topics like miscarriage, dementia awareness and death. Please be gentle with yourself and take care as you listen.
We went to speak at a memory clinic. It was so amazing to have that opportunity.
It was, and it was through a friend of mine I'd lost touch with, and we were at a Christmas Eve service for the kids, and our kids had gone to nursery together. And when I knew her, she was a child psychologist, and now she's a psychologist for the elderly, but also works at a memory clinic in, is it Harrow?
Harrow. Yeah, Harrow.
And so I don't know how we re-established this connection, and then she found out that we were doing this and I'd written the book and everything, and she invited us to talk, and then we're going to go back as well to speak to the higher up manager
in the NHS. So that's so exciting,
just to kind of explain how it affects not just the person but the
carers and how I think strategies need to reflect people with dementia. It's not suitable. What is there is not suitable for people with Alzheimer's.
So take me back, if you wouldn't mind, to your connection, how you met, and why this mission to really inform and educate people about dementia is so important to you both.
Marielle and I met a long time ago when our kids were at a local playgroup.
Yeah,
actually, and that's how we met, through a mutual friend. And we just got on instantly. Some people you just have a connection with instantly. And as the years progressed, our children were quite young at the time, but by the time they went to primary school, Marielle's mum had already started having signs of cognitive decline, and then mine did slightly behind Marielle's mum at that point. And honestly, we both felt so completely alone at times. So has been not had each other, and even with each other, we felt desperately alone, desperately trying to get help, trying to find out if you can get funding, trying to look after young children. And then the years went by, and
COVID.
And then a year ago, I don't know, we were chatting one day and we said, wouldn't it be great if we should do a podcast? And I said, hang on, hold your horses. I said, let's just start with Instagram first, because I'd set up an Instagram account already because I write poetry called Heidi the Poet. I was using that to publicise my poetry. So I just got my head around Instagram. And I said, you know what, let's start an Instagram account, see how we go, see if we get a following, and see what happens. And it's been amazing.
It has. It's just, mind-boggling. It's over 2,000.
Yeah, over 2,000 followers. But it's allowed us to express ourselves through words, through the images we choose, through the images of our mum, through our words, through that very modern forum, and to connect with people all over the world, and people like yourself, which is amazing.
And we hope that we're reaching out to people who also feel lonely and can connect and can pick up some ideas. But most of all, I think we just want to share that there is hope. In a very desperate situation, in a very dark illness, there's hope. You've got to keep going. You've got to take it day by day, and you've got to be brave enough to reach out. And it's okay to reach out, because we felt so alone, didn't we?
Yes. And I think as well, in the beginning stages for both of us, it's really hard to say, find joy. And when you say it to someone said to me 9 years ago, you have to find the joy. I'd have probably punched them. But you do have to find joy. And as the journey progresses with them, and you kind of, instead of trying to grab them back and pull them back, you enter their reality, and you have to get a bit creative, because they talk, they say really strange things. They have really strange behaviors. And the minute you stop trying to swim against the tide, it gets so much easier. But your initial instinct is you want to fight it. You want to fight them. You want to make them remember.
I can't.
And they can't. And it's finding those joy and those glimmers of their own self, which does happen a lot, less as the years go by. But there will be moments where they come back. And just to see those moments, it is joyful. And then they can still find joy as well.
Yeah.
They find joy through, Marielle used to take her mum to an art class in the early stages.
So before COVID, I used to take her to an art class every Monday. And although she didn't do very much, she used to do silly little things that used to make us laugh. So it's like being two girls at school, She used to draw stick people and say, we are the two fools here. But, and she used to enjoy the social aspect of it. And people were really kind to her because they knew that she had dementia. They'd come and chat with her and they'd bring her chocolate. And then she'd look forward to it. And even though she wouldn't remember from one week to the next, she'd say, is there something that we do every week? And I think we would have carried it longer if COVID hadn't hit.
COVID had a massive impact on a lot of community initiatives.
She wouldn't be able to cope now. It'd be too much for her. She wouldn't know,
Marielle, can I ask, when your mum was diagnosed, had you noticed changes in your mum?
Yes. So it all started. So up until the age of 82, she was completely independent and still working as a freelance French interpreter for the NHS. So totally with it, very independent, strong lady. And then she was mugged and beaten up outside her house. And I think that triggered a trauma, which maybe she would have had this at some point. I think it brought it on earlier. And it started about 3 months after that trauma. I started to notice little things like I'd say, let's meet at such a cafe, and she'd be gone. She'd forgotten little things. And then repetition, she'd be repeating things over and over again, or she'd be ringing me 5-6 times when I was at work saying, is it today that I pick up the children? Because I felt it was very important for her to still keep doing what she loved. And the children were old enough to be safe. And the school was very aware. And, I'd explained it. But she would ring me and say, is it 3:00? So she'd write everything down. But little things like that you could see. And then it kind of progressed. I feel I see changes every 6 months. I don't know how you see it. But for me, every 6 months, I see a change. And by the time we got to diagnosis, she'd probably had it for about 2.5 years. And I was trying to convince myself that she didn't have it. But deep down, I knew she had it. And I think she knew something was wrong because she kept telling me there's something wrong with my memory. And the GP would say to her, would you like to go for an assessment at the memory clinic? And she'd say, no, I don't want to because it's old age. So for her, she'll never admit it's Alzheimer's, even now, dementia. But we eventually did get a diagnosis and it, so I'd say she's had it for about 10 years. But I'd say it's those little changes, subtle things, missing appointments, losing things, losing keys. Then she'd put things away and wrap them in tissue paper to keep it safe. Those phone calls. And then, gradually it became like she was seeing people in the house. She saw a man climbing up the side of the building. So just little by little. And now she's very much into the dementia journey. I'd say she's in the late stages of dementia.
Yeah.
But she's still there. Some days she doesn't recognize me, but her eyes illuminate. So she knows I'm someone special. And yesterday she said to me when I went there, I love you. She said, I love your body. She said, I love you. So she's probably tried to say, I love you and how you are.
Yes. It's beautiful.
But she has lots of hallucinations. The nights are terrible. She has terrors and, and she's losing her mobility. And you could see it's really declining. And I was watching her eat. This was really interesting. She was moving her food around on the plate and putting it into shapes. And then once it was in a certain shape, then she said to me, I can eat it now. And I thought that's really interesting. I wonder if it's the brain trying to calm itself down or make itself a control thing, maybe. So it's little signs. But I think my message would be to people is don't give up on them because they're still there. And I remember I had a fantastic GP. She was amazing. And she said, what you're doing, taking her to the art class, going out for coffees, going out for cake, that is still stimulating her. And you can still make neurons, even with dementia. It's much slower, but you still can. That's what she told me. So I think keeping that person stimulated as much as you can, because sometimes you can't. Now, we wouldn't be able to take them out. But we've done our best.
Yeah.
And we're still doing our best because we're still going to see them and they've got fantastic care.
And Heidi, obviously, how long had your mum been diagnosed for? Not very long, you said.
Because my dad passed away very suddenly in 2017. And probably a year before that, he'd started to notice just certain things that actually probably anyone that was not in the family, not close to her, wouldn't have picked up on. Just certain things like she'd say, oh, David Foster's just died, and he'd died many years before. And she was really good at popular culture and stuff like that. Or she'd say to my dad, oh, you've never babysat on your own for my son. You've never babysat on your own before, for Jamie. And he'd say, yes, I have. And I'd say, yeah, you have, Dad. And he'd say, she's had a massive argument with me this morning because she swears blind I've never done that before on my own. And she would forget little things. And he was very stressed out, very stressed out. And then one night I got a phone call, 11 o'clock at night, saying, my mum calling, saying, I think Dan's dead. He's on the bedroom floor. I don't know what's happened. And the world just collapsed from that minute. My son was 4. He'd only just started primary school. My partner drove round. I don't drive. I stayed with our son. And within, 48 hours, my dad had passed away. He'd had a massive brain hemorrhage, cardiac arrest. Whether it was brought on by stress, I don't know. He'd had slight high blood pressure for about 2 months. And that's when it started. So I went from the role of being a mum of a 4-year-old to caring for her straight away. At that point, her mobility was still okay, although she did have very bad osteoarthritis. So she'd, my dad had done everything for her for a long time. He'd taken her to the hairdressers to get her hair washed. He'd done all the housework. He'd done all the cooking. He'd always paid all the bills. Very 1950s couple. And I just had to step in and take all of it. And I remember sitting in the funeral parlour with my partner, Charlie, and my mum. And they were saying, oh, so, tell us about your husband, Mrs. Cross. And she started to talk about the RAF and like being in the RAF. And I realised she was talking about her dad, my granddad. And I said, no, mum, they mean your husband, Pete, my dad. And it was little by little. Yeah. But the thing is with my mum, she never understood there was anything wrong with her. And there's certain people with dementia, they will never, it's not because they're denying it, they literally do not know it. She never knew anything was wrong with her. 6 months after my dad died, I was taking my son to school and I got a phone call saying, have you seen your father? And my just blood ran cold. And she said, he was here this morning, I saw him, and now I don't know where he is. And it went through like months of this, and I just lost my father. So I had to either tell her he'd died or tell her he'd be back later. But then she was still with it enough to question that. So it's that balancing act. They always say, oh, go with the flow, tell them, just agree with them. But you can't.
Sometimes you can't.
Early stages, you actually can't do that. And because she was so volatile, when I tried to get her, I went at it from every angle. I tried to, stay calm. Mum, I think there's something a bit wrong with your memory. There's nothing wrong with my memory. Rah, you're mad, this, that, and the other. And she'd get really upset, so I'd leave it. I'd try it another angle. And so I didn't get a diagnosis till after COVID. So 2017 till after COVID. And looking back, I regret that because I had some misplaced sense of loyalty. And if I'd got her on the tablets earlier, maybe she'd be better now. But I just could not bring myself to do it. And Mariel and I are both only children.
Really difficult.
And I couldn't make that decision. And it came to a head after COVID because she'd had a fall, she'd broken her ankle, didn't remember it a week later. And I just sat there and I used to sit in the kitchen and write notes on my phone, which is how I ended up writing my book. But I'd sit and just say what was happening so that I'd have something to tell the GP one day. So I had millions of notes on my phone. And then one day she had fallen down the stairs. I'd seen her falling down the stairs. She hadn't hurt herself, but I'd got her back up. She bruised her knees, sat her down. And about 20 minutes later, she'd forgotten it. She didn't even know. She's like, oh, my knees are hurting a bit. And so I just sat there and she'd fallen asleep in the chair. And I just fired off an email to the GP and felt so guilty as I pressed that send button. And then that started a chain of events to get her.
You have to train them,
completely, because she didn't think there was anything wrong. So for her, there was never anything wrong. There's never been anything wrong. She didn't see anything wrong when I'd say to her, "But Mum, you're seeing Dad, and Dad died a year ago or 2 years ago."
Yeah.
She didn't see that was wrong. When she started talking to photographs of myself, my late sister, she died before I was born, or my son, she'd start feeding photos.
Yeah.
She didn't see that was wrong.
No, they both done that.
Yeah. Feeding photos is quite a common one, I think, isn't it? Especially maybe for women, I don't know. It's like quite common. I think it's maybe getting in touch with that maternal side.
The resolve and the resilience and the composure and the calmness that you both have when you're talking about the situation.
We're not always calm.
I went on sertraline 3 years ago. Seriously, I wasn't this calm before antidepressants.
Because because you're grieving them now. You're grieving.
Yes,
I think when I was looking through your Instagram, there was something about you grieve when you grieve them as a parent.
Yeah.
You grieve parts of your childhood because those parts will disappear in some ways, those memories, because you can't look back on those memories fondly because
and you can't talk
about them. And then you're grieving a future. So you're kind of like trapped in this limbo state.
It's
almost.
Awful. It's awful. I think, as Heidi said, we're only children. So there's that. But I lost my dad when I was 4. So my mum has been my mum, my dad, my rock. And I just felt like Heidi that my world has been turned upside down. And I would always go to my mum, for advice. I'd ring her twice a day anyway. We were very close. We're still close, but not in, I can't share those things. And I used to do lots of shopping, which you used to take your mum to Brick
Yeah,
Cross,
we used to take them to Brick Cross, listen to every week.
You missed that. I missed that. I'm in a shop. I'm looking at clothes, nothing right. What would my mum say? She'd say, probably get it. So, but it's like I'm talking to her all the time. There's never a moment when she's not in my mind or in my heart. It's the most horrendous thing to have to go
That
through.
is the thing. It's just from the minute my dad died, she was the first and still is pretty much. Less so this week because I've had my hip replacement, last week. But she's still the first thing on my mind every morning. Message the carers, do you need anything? Chase up the medication, bills. It's not just about the physical act of caring, which obviously, luckily, we've got care in place now, so we don't have to be there all the time. But you take over everything. And, when my mum went into hospital last year twice, which was truly, truly horrendous, because when someone with dementia is in hospital, they do not have a clue what's going on, especially in the later stages. So disorientating. The first time she had DVT and blood clots. The second time she had severe anemia. She'd lost like half the blood in her body or something ridiculous. She's trying to pull the transfusion out.
And it'll rip everything out.
Just really, really stressful. Although I've got to say, the second ward she was in at the hospital, it was a dementia-friendly ward, and they had a beautiful ceiling with flowers on the ceiling, embedded in the plastic kind of ceiling, and they'd have people come in, like dementia volunteers, who would come in and put the radio on.
That's good.
And sing, and everyone would sing, and the carers would sing, and my mum wasn't into it. She's in a bad mood, but everyone else was really into it. And it was nice for us as well. And they got me up and, had a dance and a boogie, and I can't dance, but it was nice. And those sort of things really are so important to find those joyful moments in the worst of time.
Not every hospital will have a dementia-friendly ward, will they?
For me, that's so important, getting that message out there. I've got a background in NHS and social care. And for me, with my carer's hat on, I just want dementia to be recognised for the awful illness it is. It's not an old person's illness solely. There are people who are 50 or younger who are being diagnosed with it. And we really need to recognise it as a society and put in the empathy and the support for people. Because like Heidi always says, don't you, was it about Sandra's generation who are...
Sandra's generation. Yeah, we've got old parents, we've got younger children. Yeah. And we are setting up a lot of the thing, and I'm going through it at the moment because they're trying to pull my mum's fast track CHC funding, but that's another issue. But before that, she self-funded for 2 years. But we're setting up a whole generation of people of mine and Marielle's age. You know, I'm 53, you're 52, who had children late 30s, early 40s, which is, you know, quite common, especially in London, older parents, and the health repercussions of us not getting the right help early doors and burning ourselves out over years of not getting any support or the proper advice. That is setting up more expense for the NHS.
Yeah.
You know, I've just had a hip replacement 10 days ago, which is quite young to have a hip replacement. Had I taken care of myself years ago and lost some weight and done more exercise and eat more healthily, I might have got osteoarthritis anyway, but it might not have been so quick. And, you know, we've both got various health issues. And I would say anyway to the government, they need to focus more on dementia care, not just as, like you said, it's not just older people.
No, it's not.
But it's setting down a ripple effect.
Yes.
Through the generation.
Yeah.
You know, my son suffers from anxiety.
Yes.
Because he's very close to my dad. My dad died suddenly, and he's seen behaviours from my mum that are truly upsetting. He had to have one-to-one support at primary school for that and various other repercussions because it had an effect on my relationship with my partner. We used to argue more financially. And people have got to realise it's not just about the person living with dementia. It's about the whole family.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, everyone is touched by it. Yes.
And because of the behaviours, which are sometimes violent, sometimes aggressive, sometimes upsetting, it's a big psychological burden.
It is.
For you know, children and grandchildren
to
witness and to deal with.
Yeah.
Really, and to process.
I do think creative activities play a huge role in
100%.
that. You mentioned music and the radio playing in the hospital and dancing and moving. And poetry. I know both of you write poetry, and you've mentioned your book Milk Tulip, sorry. Now I've actually bought myself a copy, but I wanted to first of all ask where that name comes from.
There's a bit that explains it. Shall I read it from the book, or shall I just explain
Please,
it? Please,
if you want to,
okay. Just a quick word about the name of the book, Milk Tulips. It comes from an incident where my dear mum put the flowers that we'd just bought her in 2 full pints of milk. This is a classic example of how dementia can manifest, making even the simplest of everyday tasks difficult. Milk tulips became an affectionate term my young son and I used. Sometimes you must find humour in the darkness. Top tip, tulips don't like milk. Don't try this at home. I carefully poured the milk down the plug hole and rearranged the blooms in a vase. They were much happier. So that's where the name came from.
And it's a collection of sort of personal stories and poetry. You mentioned already that you have a background in media production and copywriting, I think, as well. And so it seems like quite a natural thing for you to kind of gravitate towards in terms of like expressing yourself.
It started when I had my son, actually. And at the time, I'd been made redundant from my last TV job, and I was kind of segueing, as they say, into copywriting. And I started writing a blog called Mummy Poet, which is on some blogspot thing that I don't even remember now. But I've written so many poems for him. And then one day I thought, you know what, I might just put them in a book. So I did that and I self-published it. And I found expressing like the early stages of motherhood, which are quite difficult, through poetry, really helpful and hit a nerve with a lot of my friends. And I thought, you know, I like doing this. I really like writing poems, and I like rhyming. I'm really old school. And then the same with my mum, that when the dementia started kicking in, I started writing a few poems and then putting them on my personal poet Instagram account. And so when I decided to write the book, I didn't really know what to do, and it's probably a bit of a hybrid. So I thought, well, I'm going to include certain poems, and not all of them are to do with dementia. They're about what was happening to me during that period of time. And it's a mix of personal stories about my mum, how the progression happened, tips, practical advice, but also poems to explain what I was going through at the time, which was a lot because I had a pregnancy loss at the same time. I'd lost my dad. So many different things had happened. And at times I walked around and I just thought, I can't do this. I can't do this. It would be easier. And I don't mean this in a dramatic way, but I felt a lot of the times it would be easier if I wasn't here, because I can't make the decisions I need to put in place for my mom and for my family.
Yeah,
It's too much and it's too soon and I can't deal with it all. But actually, through this book, I want people to read it and think, God, she was going through not just that, but a million other things at that time. And now I don't feel like that.
No.
There was times you felt like that as well. Yeah. And if someone can read this book and one person can read it, and I do loads of free Kindle promotions. So whenever I can make it free, I can. I've priced it as low as possible because it's not a money-making thing. You have to Amazon take a certain cut. I want people to read it and say, do you know what? It's awful now, but bit by bit, over the years, I'll be able to get through it.
Yeah.
You can't see that at the beginning. No. All you see is, oh my God, I can't imagine how this will all pan out. Yeah. But it does, and you do find joy along the way, and you can find humour along the way. And actually, it's kind of fueled my creativity back again.
It's an outlet for you, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%.
It's an outlet. It's like I still go to the art class without my mum to calm myself down, and I find it really helps. And I also think of her that used to come there. So that's really important. And self-care, creativity, self-care, music.
Yeah.
Music is so important. I mean, when my mum's getting stressed or her behavior, there's something's happening, the carers put on her favorite music and that calms her down. They've also found a piano app on her laptop.
Oh, you know what music?
Yeah. So she thinks she's playing, and then she's getting really excited, and so there's so many things that you can do.
Technology is amazing these days as well. Do they have favourite songs, both of your mums?
The thing is, with my mum, I felt she wasn't a particularly creative person, and she didn't particularly listen to music. But if I put on like 1950s music, a bit of Elvis or something like that, she really does like it.
And my mum likes lots of Christian music that keeps her calm. Worship music, French music. So if my husband, because my mum's French, so if my husband comes and he's French as well, he will then sing along with her. Oh, and then it gets quite interesting because obviously the filter is going with my mum. So she changes songs into really naughty words, but it's actually quite funny, especially from someone who's not at all like that. So it's actually quite entertaining.
Oh, actually, my mum, I've just remembered the song my mum sings with her carers.
Yeah.
So my mum's carers are not originally from the United Kingdom, so they had never heard this song, but it's an old musical song. And the words weren't originally there, but it's, oh dear, what can the matter be?
Oh, yes.
Which I'm sure you've heard. But she sings the version, 2 old ladies got stuck in the lavatory. Oh. And so she's kind of taught this to the carers because she used to sing it all the time. So when they're trying to clean her and change her and stuff, her carers do sing, oh dear, what can the matter be? Boom, boom, boom. And just get her to comply with the changing.
Yeah. And I love that.
Obviously comfort. She used to sing that to me when she was young.
My mum will sing the French national anthem, but she's put it in her words. And she loves it when my friend Geraldine comes round. She's from Ireland, and they sing together, It's a Long Way to Tipperary. Oh. And it's amazing how when you start a song or music, suddenly they remember a lot of the words. It's coming from a
well, I don't know if I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you've both seen it, but there's a beautiful a video on the on Instagram somewhere or YouTube of this prima ballerina who's Alzheimer's.
Yes, beautiful.
Have you seen it?
Very moving.
And they start playing. I don't know if it's Swan Lake or some classical music. She's sat in a wheelchair and she's completely in herself, late stage dementia, and she suddenly starts doing all the beautiful movements, and it's still in there, and it's still in them. And how beautiful is that? That I think the trouble is, and I've got to be honest, I felt it at times. You sometimes look at them and you think, what kind of life is it? And people say it to you all the time. Like twice my mum was in hospital last year. I was told not to treat her the first time for blood clots. Just let her go, look at her, look at the state of her sort of thing. And you start to buy into it. And I think that's really dangerous because actually, if my mum can find joy in a second, in a 5-minute moment of that day, then that's still her life. Yeah. She's then entitled to find joy in that moment in her life. Yeah. Even if it's a biscuit, she loves custard cream.
Yours is biscuits, mine is chocolate. Yeah. They find such pleasure in it.
Yeah.
And I asked my mum the other day, are you happy? She said, oh, yes. She said, I have chocolate. I'm happy.
It's funny. There are times when they're not happy and they're miserable.
Of course.
But aren't we all?
Yeah.
There's times when we're miserable. We have a bad day. I had a bad morning this morning because I hadn't slept because I'm waiting my dodgy hip replacement, and I felt really grumpy this morning. But now I don't. You know,
it's incredible the passion and the commitment that you've made to really shine a light on the things that are missing actually in the care system for people with dementia.
It should be free for people with dementia.
More resources, more access to things for families, because it just feels like the system is so clunky.
And these people are in our community. They are part of our community, and we should be celebrating them, you know.
Correct. There's dementia cafes near us there's one at a local hospital, and that's fantastic. But that's for the carer and their person.
Yeah.
I think where there needs to be more support, and I know this is difficult because if you're a full-time carer, or even if you're a part-time carer, it's quite hard to get the momentum or the energy or even the feeling of wanting to go and add something else to your busy schedule by going to a club or something.
Like you say, these people are within our community, and I think a lot of the time people are afraid.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They really, and it's still quite a stigma and a taboo. And I remember this example. We're going back when she was in the early stages of dementia, and I was looking for someone to put in a shower for her. And I remember asking this lady whose husband was within that industry, and she said, well, why would you want to put in a new shower? I said, so that she can have a shower. But why? She's got dementia. I said, but she still washes like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
She still requires dignity. I don't want her to stumble. And she said, she did not get it. Or other people, somebody's even asked me if it's catching. I'm like, well, no, it's not catching. So I still think there's a lot of ignorance out there. And also within the healthcare, sometimes when they come around for appointments, if somebody needs a blood test or perhaps a vaccine, they need to be gentle. They need to make reasonable adjustments and adapt to that person, look at them, talk to them, and just, whereas if they're coming in and rushing, go, 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 it's not going to happen. So I think there still needs to be a lot of education,
Yeah, absolutely. Even among the professionals who, I've told this story before, but when I was trying to get my mum assessed at the memory clinic, and I had to beg for them to assess her at home because her mobility was quite bad, not as bad as it is now. She's completely immobile now, but because I said I will not get her to the appointment if I have to bring her there. And they were like, well, she's not housebound, she's not registered as housebound. I said, I will not physically get her there. She will kick off, she will make a fuss. She's got bowel arthritis. If she doesn't want to go, she just won't go. No. What am I supposed to do to get her? And so in the end, I had a breakdown on the phone. They said, look, we'll send the doctor to you. And I said, okay, I'm going to tell her it's a health check. And the admin person on the phone said, oh, I always think honesty is the best policy. You have to tell her what it's for.
But they've got Alzheimer's.
And I said, really? Do you actually know anyone with Alzheimer's? Do you have anyone in your family? Because actually my mum thinks my dad's dead half the time. And if I just have to tell her every time, she'll burst into tears. So honesty is not the best policy with people with Alzheimer's. You have to get creative and you have to work around it, because otherwise you won't get an assessment, you won't get a diagnosis, you won't get them anywhere.
No.
And there is a big lack of understanding.
There is.
Even from an admin role, if someone's working within a dementia environment,
they should be trained.
They should understand.
Yeah.
They should understand what it's
and they should be given awareness training. They can do dementia champion, dementia friend training. I'll tell you a good example though. When my mum had to go for a blood test recently in a hospital, it started off where it wasn't going very well, and then a senior nurse came in and said, would you like me to take over? And in the end, they gave her the blood test while she was having a Kit Kat that they got for her, and it all went really well. So it's just that in itself is creative, isn't it? Thinking out the box.
You have to get creative. You do.
It's about seeing the person in front of you.
There is a human being there. This is what I say to people. They're not dead there. They're human. They're living.
And also, I don't know who said this. I'm sure it's a quote from someone, but you've met a person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia.
And we're all different.
Of course, there's things in the illness, but they're all different and they all require handling in different ways. My mum's very reactive. your mum is reactive sometimes. I think my mum did be a bit reactive. In hospital last year, they put, when she was having her blood transfusions, they came in and they've got these knitted cuffs.
Oh,
a beautiful, I've still got it somewhere. No. A knitted cuff to cover up the cannula, and people knit them for the hospital. And they've got flowers and fidget toys and stuff on them. And it's supposed to distract them from the cannula and the needle. And to be fair, it only worked for about 2 minutes with my mum, because once she wants something off, she does. But I was like, how amazing is that? That someone's knitted that. And they can't, because of COVID, they let you take it with you now. But I thought, how wonderful that a beautifully knitted cup, stopped my mum trying to rip her catheter, even if it was only for 5 minutes.
That's really good.
It is. That's and things like that, to get creative with what they're going through.
Yeah. And you mentioned the dementia champion training.
Oh, yes. So you can, so there's various trainings that you can access, some of it through Alzheimer's UK. So I know that Alzheimer's UK and maybe Dementia UK do a Dementia Friends training, but you can, through work, I was a dementia champion, and you can, I'm sure if you Google it, you can access that training and be a champion within your community, within your work, within different things. And I was also part of an initiative where we were trying to make faith places dementia friendly in the borough. So that was really good. So it was meeting with different, organizations and signage, and also, again, how you are greeted at the door. Because I remember when my mum was going to church during COVID, she couldn't wear a face mask. She didn't understand it. And I remember having to explain in front of her, that she had Alzheimer's, and she understood, and she said, I'm not gaga. She got really upset. I shouldn't have had to go through that. I then started crying behind my mask, and she said to me, is it those idiots at the door? And I went, and she went, don't let them at you. You say? So there was still some, and why would you make someone feel like that? So they think it's just lots of things, and how you talk to people, and not talking about them in front of them, and
also they read your faces.
They do.
I mean, they do. If I go around and I'm like, when my egg was hurting before I had the operation, and they know, even though you don't think they do, and they know when their care package changes over Christmas.
They feel it.
My mum has normally got 3 really good carers in place plus me. But over Christmas they had to fill in the gaps with, people going away and stuff. And she was so agitated during that month. And even little things can make a difference.
Even if they can't express it verbally, it comes out another way.
You mentioned there, Marielle, that they feel it. And I suppose if they are being moved, washed, cleaned, people's touch is very different, isn't it? And they'll pick up on that. The body is so perceptive of all the different things.
You become more sensitive. Like, if somebody's hands are cold, my
God, same.
She can't take it.
Yeah.
If they come in to try and do blood pressure or different things, anything that's tight now, she can't take it. She'll scream. So I think she's become highly sensitive to all these different things. So it's being aware of that as well. And like Heidi says, they look at your expressions. If I come in and I'm a bit sad, she looks at me,
all worried.
She'll see it, and then she'll say to me like this, and that means I'm tired. She said to me, you need help. So she was trying to tell me I've got big bags and I'm tired. So she's still, she's watching. They watch all the time. She's caring. So that person, that mum, my mum is still there caring for me in a different way. Yeah. Your mum, when she's talking to sippy cups or different things, she is caring in a type of way. That is their way of expressing themselves. And I think people forget that.
Do you notice that they sort of role play then?
Yeah, my mum definitely does. From very early on, starting with photographs. So we went, the first time it happened was with a picture, my graduation photo, and a picture of my late sister who sadly passed away before I was born. I got around there and she's like, I've got the girls in the living room. This is when she was still mobile, so she answered the door. And I got in there and I was like, okay, what's happening here? And the first day it happened, I was distressed. And then as the time went by, you're like, you know what? It's okay. It brings out that nurturing bit of themselves.
Yeah.
My son got a bit annoyed about it because he'd come around to see her and she'd have all his different ages of school photo lined up.
Oh.
And she'd say, well, that's the cheeky one and that's the this one. And she would have tried to feed them chocolate mousse and there'd be mousse smeared over the thing. And so, I mean, sometimes she'd get distressed about it, but it's weighing up what brings them joy and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Now it's her sippy cups. She talks to her sippy cups.
I got.
And she'll say, oh, he's a good one. He's a good boy.
Yeah.
And then, and it's just little things like that. Or she'll talk to people on television. Oh, yes. Pam does that on it. I don't think he's very happy. Like, I don't like him. And it is something to do with depth perception. Like 2D and 3D, they start being able to.
I had to invite someone for tea from the TV and I had to go right up to the TV and she said, I brought you up with manners. You invite him for tea. So I was talking to the TV and then she got the carer to talk with me to the person on the TV and we had to arrange a whole thing. And then she said, good. She said, because otherwise you're rude. She said, you ignore him.
Yeah. And it's you have to find a bit of sense of humour.
You do. Otherwise it's just too depressing.
And I didn't in the early days. Absolutely. I'm sure you didn't either.
No.
And as the years go by, you do, I suppose in one way you become a bit immune to it.
Yeah.
You do. But the other side of it is you kind of have to just go along with this is the new reality. This is the new reality. I've got a drama to go. If she wants me to talk to a sippy cup, I will.
Yeah. It's like the pink rabbit story. So my mum used to see these pink rabbits all the time under the TV. She doesn't see them as much now. And I used to argue with her in the early stages. There are no pink rabbits out there. There's nothing out there. And in the end, my son said to me, why don't you just agree with her? So I said to her one day, she said, can you see the pink rabbits? I said, I can. She said, you can see the pink rabbits? I said, I can. Well, she said to me, my girl, she said, you need help. She said that I can see the pink rabbit is one thing. She said that you can see them. She said, get some help. So,
I love
and that's
that.
what keeps me going when I feel really
got
down.
to laugh.
I start thinking about that and I think you've got to laugh.
You've got
You
to
do. And you two obviously, have such a special friendship as well. You're supporting each other through this. You laugh together. You have a confidant, somebody to talk to and share your... Would you mind reading some of your poetry for us, for our listeners?
Any particular one?
I know that, Marielle, you've got one as well. I'd love to hear as many as you would like to read, Heidi, yeah.
I'll read the first one, the first dementia-related one that's in the book. This is Forget Me Not, Mum. Who am I today, Mum? I'm waiting for the clue. You think I'm just a friend now who comes to sit with you. You know my name and like me, that friendship bond's still strong. But you talk about your husband, they poor dad is long gone. Some days your house is strange to you. You ask to go back home, where your mum and dad still wait for you. You hate to be alone. I try to help you recognise that where you are right now is full of happy memories. I grew up in this house. But nothing will persuade you. This history now erased. You often wander out now. This isn't just a phase. The slow decline is hard to watch. The good days are so rare. But when they come, we chat and laugh. You smile without a care. This really is the long goodbye, a journey, not a sprint. I search for those past gems of you, the old you through the chink. I used to get so angry. Why you? Why me? Why this? But with time there comes acceptance, some hope within the mist. You're still my mum. You took my hand, you soothed me when I cried. And I will be your little girl until the day I die.
Oh, Heidi, that's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. I'm so glad I've got my tissues.
It's very moving.
Oh, dearie me.
If I can find a slightly cheerier one. None of them are that cheery, to be fair.
All right, I've got a box.
Cream one.
Custard creams. So I read you custard creams.
Yes, please.
Because my mum loves custard creams. She really does. Give her a custard cream. Doesn't matter what else. Oh, this is gorgeous. Custard creams. You used to phone 10 times or more, but now you can't and phone no more. I used to dread those frantic chats, and now I miss them. Fancy that. I'd watch the app in case you left, but now I get reprieve. It seems you're bedbound, cannot walk. I'd give anything to see you leave. The early stages you lashed out, we'd argue just like mum and daughter. But now you barely understand. You smile but don't know who I am. As time goes on, you need me less. Your care is now in place. With gratitude, accept that help, but feel I've been replaced. You'll never greet me at the door. I'll never take you shopping. All share the memories of our past. This journey's one way, ain't no stopping. Today I live for glimpses, signs of theme. The joy upon your lovely face when eating custard creams.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh,
Really
I love
beautiful.
that one.
I like that one as well.
Beautiful.
Because she
Oh.
does love custard creams, and it's
Thank
kind of
you.
joyful and sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Are you still writing now, Heidi? Are you still writing
Yes,
poems?
and in fact, I've realised I've written a few more poems since I published this book. So what I might do at some stage, because this book is kind of personal to me as well as being, you know, hopefully speaking to everyone. So it's got poems that aren't just about dementia, but I'm thinking maybe in a year's time when I've written more, I'll just publish a book that is just about dementia, just the poems about dementia for dementia caregivers, because that would be quite a nice gift, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I've got one more about dementia caregiving. Would you like me to read that? Okay.
I'm very happy to hear them.
This is the last one that's specifically about what it's like to be a dementia caregiver, because I think sometimes, especially if you haven't gone through it, and I know you have in your family, it's quite hard to explain looking after someone who is elderly and has dementia, because it's not a straightforward illness and it's not straightforward answers to it either. So I think that's why I wrote this, because sometimes you're just not in the world at the beginning stages. So this is called a Dementia Caregiver's Wish. Forgive me, I'm distracted. I'm trying to engage, but my mind's still with my loved one. I cannot turn the page. I'm talking and I'm smiling, but I'm worried you're in danger. Today, my mother spoke to me as if I were a stranger. I'm trying to be present and get out of my head, but my stomach now is churning. I forgot to get her meds. Forgive me if I'm distant. She's always on my mind. I'm wondering if she's fretting. And her glasses, will she find? Forgive me if I'm tearful. I grieve the mum I've known. And though she is still with us, our shared memories have flown. I need to keep your friendship more than you will ever know. So please don't be upset if my texts are scarce or slow. It can be somewhat lonely, this tunnel that I'm in. But please keep us in your heart so that dementia doesn't win.
And I've got this, it's not a poem. I've written a letter. When I turned 50, I thought I'd write a letter to my mum. So, you know, could I read it?
Of course, absolutely.
The title of the poem is To the Love of My Life. So this is me talking to her.
Yeah.
So, Mum, everything I am, I owe to you. Thank you for giving me life 50 years ago. Everything you have done for me. You have always put me first. If I can be half the mother to my precious children as you have been to me, then I will have achieved in my life. From the moment we met, I have loved you. You have taught me what it is to be kind and to have compassion for others. Even with all the hardships that you have endured in life, you have always remained kind and compassionate, upbeat, putting others before yourself. You are a selfless, beautiful soul, strong, funny, and stubborn. When I think back on my life, I think of all the lovely things we have done together. All the laughs, our shopping trips, all the sweet memories. I am now your memory. I know you love Philippe, that's my husband, like your own son, and he deserves the love for everything he did for me and you during COVID is forever engraved in my heart. Rafi and Zach, your precious loved grandsons, love you so much. You are the light of their lives, the light of mine. No illness will ever dull that light. You have been a father and a mother to me, always strong, always my anchor, keeping me steady through the storms of life. You have taught me to be human. Thank you, Nanu. You are the best mum I could have wished for. Sorry. Do you want to finish it?
Thank you, Nana. You are the best mum I could have wished for. God was looking down the day I met you on the 26th of December, 1972. Ta, Marielle. That's beautiful.
Sorry.
Oh, Marielle's beautiful.
It's a very hard journey.
I know, I can feel it. I can feel it. The emotions and how you're feeling and your stories are very safe here.
I think we deal with it so much sometimes it has to
It just comes out.
Because you do get very resilient and almost not hardened to it, that's the wrong word, but sometimes it just
takes hold of you.
Yeah.
It comes out.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It is okay.
It's an emotional roller coaster. That's the whole thing about all of it, isn't it? It's an emotional roller coaster. It is. It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it affects everyone,
It does.
your family, your friends, everyone. My husband had to live with her during COVID at night so that she wouldn't wander, and she had really hallucinations, and the children were affected by it. He was affected by it. It's really hard. It's only when care was put in place that it started to get better. And I think it's really important that people are not afraid to ask for help. If you can get help, ask for it. Don't feel guilty. You haven't failed. You've done your best. And actually, the care she's getting now is better than what I could ever provide because they're professional. They've got the time.
And also, if you can get care, and I know it's not always that simple for people, it gives you a bit of chance to look after yourself and work on your relationship with that person as well. Because within the constantly advocating for them, caring for them, you kind of sometimes lose that relationship because you're just their carer all the time. You're doing stuff for them all the time. And I think for you, it enabled you to reconnect with your mum.
It did. I can really have daughters.
Because I was so full of resentment the first 5 years. It's really hard, running on empty, grieving your dad. And to be able to, don't get me wrong, when the carers first started coming in, I was watching that Ring doorbell and I was eavesdropping and I was paranoid. But it's like leaving a kid at nursery. But once I and I've got a really good rapport with my mum's carers as well. And I love them, and I've got I can WhatsApp them and message them. They're my friends now.
They're amazing.
And that's really important as well, to get a good rapport with your care team as well. They're part of your family.
They are. For me, they're and my mum has said to them on each individually over the years they've been now that she loves them.
Yeah.
And I really think she does.
My mum says she loves my mum.
And the carers tell me that they love my mum, and I believe that.
Yeah,
because I think you form a bond, don't you?
Yeah. And not everyone's so lucky, and I do know that as well. I mean,
we are privileged
within my friend group, your friend group of friends we don't have in common. I know at least 3 other women who are helping to look after or advocate for their mothers who have dementia or under the dementia umbrella.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's so hard. And sometimes I see that they're a little bit behind us in that journey.
Yeah.
And my heart breaks. And that's why I want to support other people, with not just our friends, but other people, because you go through all the different stages.
And it's not easy, is it?
Yeah, because actually, for me, the mid-early stages were harder. Yeah. Because they're more like their old self, but then they flip. They flip back and forth all the time. And then the wondering stage with my mum, even though her mobility was quite bad, if she had it in her head, going somewhere, thank goodness for video doorbells, because it'd be like, right, everyone in the car, Nanny's gone out again. And she lives quite near, so that's quite lucky. But, she'd get it in her head that she wanted to go out, and she'd be in her slippers and her...
And they're at risk of falls. They're vulnerable,
Do they have tracking apps or devices?
Yeah, but they have to want to keep them.
Oh my goodness, there's so many things.
There's so many things. My mum wouldn't take any of them. She found them. Yeah. We'd hidden under the bed, she ripped it all out, threw it down the stairs.
Do you remember what? I think it depends on the person. It depends on the scenario.
It's on the individual.
And then there's a list of resources at the back of this as well. And there are trackers you can get. I got
actual some.
I won't say the brand, but I got a tracker from my mum, which worked for a little while, but it was on her keyring. She's like, what the hell is that? And I'd have to hunt around the house looking for it. She would have hidden it somewhere. But you can get insole trackers. You can get other trackers. Sometimes this was another thing, which I think, I know it's a bit off the subject, but it's really important to point out. Even if you can't get care at the moment and your loved one has savings, which means they don't qualify for paid care, there is still stuff from the council they can get, like clamshell trackers, like SOS pendants, like adaptations, perching stalls, all these things, which at the beginning I was told, your mum's got savings, there's no point in you really getting an assessment, just go off on your way. And actually I shouldn't have done that, because there was a lot of stuff that was paid for her, and we spent most of our savings on care anyway. So get what you can get what you can get. You're going to pay loads of money, get what you can get. And there's, fire alarms that link straight to the fire centre, lots of different ways of keeping your loved ones safe, which you can get funding with. You said earlier about connecting the dots. And I think that's the big thing. There is no connection with the dots. And for me, like when I got the diagnosis for my mum, the person who came to diagnose her, it was very much tick the boxes, do the test, off you go, give her these meds. And that was it. And I wasn't even given a leaflet to say how I was supposed to navigate this. So that's just the first step.
I was. So
there's a disconnect.
There's a disconnect
somewhere, and a lot of the departments don't talk to each other. It took me a long time to get my mum classed as housebound, even though, now she is actually housebound. She cannot move. She's moved with 2 carers and a hoist from the bed to the chair to bed. Before that, when she was more mobile, which was still pretty immobile, she's, shuffling with the Alzheimer's and arthritis. They would not class her as housebound. So it was really difficult to get her to appointments, to get her vaccines done, and no communication between the different departments. And I know it's difficult, and I know we're in that, state of crisis in this country with funding and everything, but
I don't think that's an excuse. I really don't think we should be using that as an excuse. These things are supposed to be put in place, to support our most vulnerable. And they are the ones that suffer. The families are the ones that suffer because we are absolutely focused on ticking boxes, and therefore people are going to slip through the cracks left, right and centre, and it's the families that end up having to pick up the pieces.
And it's a system that's very complex to navigate.
Yeah.
It's not an easy system to navigate.
It isn't, and half the information I got in my early days, because Marielle's mum was a bit ahead of the game in those days, although now my mum's probably a little bit ahead of yours, but a lot of the information I only knew about because Marielle told me, because she knew. And Marielle had, background in NHS and social care, so she had a bit more information. But I sometimes think, if it was a different family,
how would they
know? And I've passed on that. You disseminate that information to friends and you pass it on, and that's why we feel passionate about
trying to help people,
using the Instagram, using our platforms in a creative way to educate.
But you need to know where to get it, how to get it. Sometimes you need to learn how to write to get that help. But don't be afraid to ask for help, isn't it? Where you can.
But you don't, if you've got Alzheimer's, you don't take Alpha-Tax, or you get a reduction. You get
attendance.
I didn't know that. No one told me that. Marielle told me that. Just things like that. Attendance allowance. They're entitled to attendance, but that's not means tested. All these things. Yes, of course. If you go onto Alzheimer's website, you can dig and find it, and they're amazing resources. But sometimes you don't know where to look. Because most people I know whose parents have got Alzheimer's, mothers, they're mainly women, who I know, that are dealing with it. And they've got youngish children as well, or other stuff going on in their life. And that's the other hard thing, that the healthcare, they want you to be there for your parent because it makes it easier for them as well. And they forget that actually you need to be there for a million other people as well. And it's hard. It is hard. And there needs to be more understanding.
And I think I was really lucky that I had this amazing GP.
You were actually.
Yeah. And if she's listening, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Thank you.